Good afternoon, Dr. JT and Meneer Boonzai. This is my video demonstration for Project 2, the image hub, I guess, application that we had to write for Project 2 for CMPG 323, sorry. My name is Martin Steyn, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay. So when the application is loaded, when it's booted, when it stops running, you will be presented with this login screen. If you do not have an account, let's run through that. You switch over to the create account screen and you enter your details. Let's just make this incredibly insecure and get it done. And there we go. Okay. Then when you create the account, what the application is doing is it's now putting that into the user database. We'll get to that in a second. And now you can do this and log into the application. Right, so this is the main screen. This is also the only other screen there is. I went for relatively minimalist design to avoid switching, to compensate for people running on slower networks, so you don't have to wait for loading times as much. Alright, so in order to search the images, you'll see here comes a drop down, and every image that has been loaded, I've just loaded a few from my computer for the sake of testing. You see you get a table here of all the images that have been uploaded, and then here you get a small little preview of the image. I decided to keep the image control set size, because otherwise somebody might upload an image, say for example a desktop capture of an external bigger screen, which would make this whole thing massive and impractical to use. So this is all the search functionality. You just search by the drop down. Really easy, really fast, really convenient, works like a dream. All right, now if you want to add or delete something, you go here. So in order to upload something, you click on the choose file, and it'll pop up this dialog. Let's just go find something that isn't games, because I do actually work. Let's upload this random picture, right? So you click add image, and you'll see it's updated, and there it is. So now, just for the sake of demonstration, in the View All tab, you can now go here, and there's your image. So now, say you want to delete one of these images here. Once again, the table is here to make everything easy. You don't have to remember any names. You just go, ooh, this one is the file name that I have. So you select the one you want to delete, and it refreshes. Everything happens nice, quick, easy. And just to prove it, there's only 2 of these Trackmania screen captures now, so that means the image has been deleted, it's out of the database, it's gone. Alright, just to show, I have a repository over here on GitHub in 2 different branches. So I did the main development of all the logic on my master branch, and then I had, just to do the login authentication and that stuff, just to do it separately, so as not to mess up my database structure and all that, I did that on its own separate branch here. Everything is hosted on Azure. I did this just because Visual Studio, my development environment that I used, just has such good integration with Azure because they're all Microsoft products. So it was really easy just to integrate everything and set everything up. So to start from the beginning, the first thing I created was the database, which is just a basic SQL database, but hosted directly on Azure. So it's not one I created in a different application and ported over to or hosted on here. I created it on here. I just figured that would work easier. It's everything on the cloud. Here you go. Here's my 3 tables. So I've got the pics, obviously, for the pictures. Importantly, I've got the data of the image. I've stored it as an image data type. That's how I get to display. We'll get to that in the code just now. Here's my user details. That's that's everything that's saved when you do your creating of an account, and then the user password is what's used to do the password checking when you log in, because I store my passwords as a hash in this table. All right. Then going back, I have my cloud storage here. I have a vault. I used an Azure Key Vault to store my database's connection strings, my database settings, my storage connection strings, my application hosting settings. Everything is stored here in an Azure Key Vault. And then here I have my app service where my app is hosted. I did not manage to get it working on through Microsoft Azure. The app is currently running through Visual Studio. So I did not manage to get that working, but I have made provisions. I've done all the steps to get it there. I just could not get it working properly. All right, let's just run through the different bits of code and point out some of the more interesting things. Let's start here in the login, the logic for the login. So as you can see, I don't have any passwords stored here. All that I have here is a hashing function over here and a salt generating function. So that salt gets stored in the database, and the hashed password gets stored in the user information database. And then on the login, this is the comparison that I do here. I just use the same salt to hash the password that the user entered, and if those two match, then it's a successful login and you get redirected to the main page. For the create, once again, I have a hash function because I have to store the passwords as a hash for security reasons. And then the salt just for an extra level of randomness, I guess, in the passwords hashing. Here I just have the inserting into the two tables that needs to be done. And just the SQL commanding, or the whole SQL process to open connections, execute the query, and then close it again. And then you get redirected to the login, just so that you don't have to click the button again. It's just a little quality of life thing. Right, and then for the big boy is the home page. So for most of the main button events and stuff that I've got, I data bind my lists, I data bind my grid views with this function here. We'll go there now. This is just to keep everything nice and consistent, so you don't, switch over to a page and there's an out-of-date drop-down list or an out-of-date data table showing. It just keeps everything nice and streamlined and easy to use. So here what I have is this is the uploading to the image, or this is the uploading of the image, sorry, from your local machine onto the system. So you get the file name using the file upload control. It's I think it's an HTML control for Windows Forms or web forms. So you get the file name from that, and then it's just a file input stream binary reader. You read it in as bytes, and then this is important. This is something I implemented throughout the whole project. So I use data sources controls, I guess, to set up my connection to the database. Now this is for security reasons, so now I don't have connection strings anywhere in my code. I just have it as a property of the data source control. So this is for security. If someone can access my code, then it doesn't matter because it's implicitly defined by this constraint variable, which is just given a value as a property of a control. So that's an extra little bit of security. Here's the insert. I had to write this custom because it's an insert query. It needs to have this dot parameters add with value section in order to insert data successfully. But, and this is the fun thing, here is a query processor function. Now what I did with that is, in order to shorten my main code, instead of writing, because every time you have to use your SQL commands, you have to open the connection, you have to do this whole shebang. What I've done is I've written it as a separate function, and then you just feed the query into it. So you define this is to search all the images. This is that view all tab. So what I did with this is I have just the query string, I guess, is what I call in my head, just the Q string, is the selected value from the drop-down list, which then gets fed into the query processor into a select command where you search for the Q string. This bit of code is to display the image in the image box control. Once again, you get bytes, feed it in, you read it as a byte array, and you convert that as a string into a string, and you add it together, and boom, you have a wonderful image and view of what you have. So I use this processor command for all the select and all EMDs, and then it's a way of showing the image in the image box control. I had to fiddle around with it a little to get the queries to be the way they were. But yes, I got that working. And then here's my view in all table, method. All I do is I data bind the two grid views. I did it as a method because I figured it would be easier and cleaner to just do it as a method instead of having to type this every time. The drop-down lists are also data binded, but I don't have them in here because I call this particular method in my page load. And I ran into an error, not an error, an issue, a bug, where if I had these also binding on the list, it wouldn't update, or it wouldn't allow you to select something from the drop-down lists. So yeah, that's my code, and I have shown my repository, I've shown my Azure storage. Just to confirm that I am actually working through this database and I don't have a Scalum database somewhere that isn't connecting directly through here. Let's just go into Pix and check the data just to prove that there is actually something in there and that it's this particular database that I'm interfacing with. Let's try this one. But all the links will be provided. I'm getting problems now. All the links will be provided to this Azure dash, also the repo as requested. And I hope you enjoyed this demonstration, and I wish you a brilliant day afterwards.